Hi, Black Hollywood Live fans. Today we're talking breaking confirmation news, Beyonce sued, and more. Stay with us on Justice is Served.
You are tuned into Black Hollywood Lives. Justice is served.
Hello and welcome to what I think is a very dark day in American history for our justice system. More on that in a bit, but my name first is Chelsea Galicia. It's amazing what 2 weeks will do. I'm gone for 2 weeks and all of a sudden I'm a new beginner all over again. Thanks for joining me and my co-host, my lonesome co-host today. It's just the two of us. Here, Domonique Price, fellow attorney, and we bring you the latest in legal news every single week here on Justice is Served. I've been gone for a couple weeks, so I'm feeling like
so have I. It's crazy.
Amazing.
I've been gone just as long as you were, and I'm just like, I didn't even know how to get here today.
When I left, we had a different president.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
And it is a totally different world. I spent like a week in Guatemala trying to like be in a different world, but of course I was sucked into everything that was going on. And then last week, to get myself further sucked into everything that was going on, I went to DC for a political conference. So I am in some ways jazzed and inspired, and in other ways like wired and wowed and Jesus, we've got a lot going on.
Let's get some of that out today.
Okay, so let's start here on one of the biggest concerns that I had about Trump's nominations, and that is Jeff Sessions for Attorney General. And probably an hour ago, he was confirmed. It was a vote pretty much down party lines with only one Democrat voting yes. And especially after the loss of the fight against Betsy DeVos yesterday, I don't know if we just, as citizens, didn't have it in us to fight that hard again, only to have this split, broken by Mike Pence. The only time really that's happened in history. And then Jeff Sessions today. We've talked a little bit about him on the show. I've talked about why I don't think he is a great pick at all, especially if you're a minority. He has been, he was denied a seat in a federal judgeship because of
race issues,
racial comments. An interesting thing went down in the Senate chambers. Elizabeth Warren tried to read Coretta Scott King's letter about Jeff Sessions, and
I read it.
Mitch McConnell silenced her, which is also unprecedented, or as Trump would say, unprecedented.
I love when he does. I love it.
I know we need small, minor comic relief because this stuff is
I provided
rough.
that, but honestly,
It's a deep breath kind of day.
It's a deep breath kind of day, but also I feel like I can't speak for all minorities. I would never even try to do that. But what I can say is that when you have a system that has been in place for hundreds of years that has never truly been a forefront for your rights or protecting you from those that continue to squash your voice or the people around you, I'm not surprised by his pick for education. I wasn't surprised for Attorney General. I think we kind of look at it and we're just like, okay, we continue to fight. Like, we're not going to stop because these individuals have been confirmed. It's the same fight, different era, if you ask me. Coretta Scott King's letter that she had wrote was from almost 20, 30 years ago. And we're still looking at the same individual. So it's kind of like, let's dig deep and let's continue to, go hard in our communities. And maybe this will be a wake-up call for the next round of elections that we have to do better with the individuals that are in the pipeline to run for these offices.
Certainly, I hope America is awake now. And I just think we're going to see some really, what you're going to see, I believe, is a lot of silence. So at least sometimes now when there are incidences of police misconduct or enough of them that rise to the level where the Attorney General sometimes steps in and goes, we need an investigation here to see what's going on. I will not expect to see Jeff Sessions saying anything. If anything, he might say law enforcement is here to do their job, and anybody that gets in the way of that should expect that they're not going to end well.
Yeah, I had this profound thought actually last week. I was still a little bit on the hum of depression after the inauguration. And I sat to myself and I thought about it. You know, Domonique, there were a lot of like negative comments that were made after Obama's first inauguration. And it really hurt my heart because no one actually gave him a chance. There were a lot of people that outside of the color of his skin did not give him the opportunity to be a great president, which I feel like he actually was. So I had to take a pause back. And although there are several reasons why I may disagree with Trump and a lot of the people that he's decided to place in his cabinet, I'm going to give them all the benefit of the doubt that while their previous transgressions were extremely grave, let's give them the benefit of the doubt first before we decide that they're going to be horrible at their jobs.
You may be kinder than I am.
I'm trying to be kind because I feel like as a minority, we're always looked at crazy because the color of our skin. So who am I to pass judgment on you for your background when I don't know that you're going to show up in this particular job and act the same way? Like, let me, mind you, I want them to do a great job, but if they don't, I will be the first one right there calling them out on every single one of their bullshit. So let's all like take a pause back and say, flowers and sunshine. Flowers and sunshine.
That's really hard for me because I know that people don't really generally understand the job of the Attorney General and how much power now Jeff Sessions has over justice in America. And I think it will be a rude awakening when things calm down. This is a guy who loves the war on drugs, who thinks that the KKK is great until they use marijuana.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me, I hate saying the word interesting because it's a sarcastic way of saying silly to me, that people have a history of who they are and what they've stood for and what they've said and what they've believed in. And then we're like, well, let's give them a chance. They might be nicer now that we've given them more power. I've never seen that. I've never seen where somebody who was not a decent person became a great, fabulous person when they were given more power. It's just not how I understand human psychology works.
I'm not saying that these people are going to turn out to be wonderful people, but they may not turn out, I'm praying that they may not turn out to be as bad as we think they're going to be. That's my only point. I want to give them that benefit of the doubt, and let's wait. Let's wait to see what they actually do. Now, let's take Trump, for example. I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt that, you know, he's a man of action. I commend him for one day waking up and say, hey, I think I could become the president of the United States and actually getting there. I give him that. And I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt through his first term as president. And then we got this ban. So it's like, he's already proved me wrong. He's not going to be a stand-up president. So now we move forward with what do we do next?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. I mean, what do you do next? If you're a minority in this country who already had problems with justice, don't expect those to get any better. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I feel like somebody's got to warn the people of what things are going to be like.
I agree, but I'm also at a place where I'm tired of hearing people talk. Like, I want to tell everyone to shut up. And if you can't show me the last 3 things that you've done that help to give me some evidence that you're serious about your talk, I don't want to hear it.
And what do you mean?
You hear a lot of people complain about Trump or complain about Sessions' confirmation. But my question is to you, what are you doing to change the status quo? Personally, what are you doing?
Is this something I'm supposed to answer?
No. But that's my question to other people. Like, because I hear what you're saying about, you know, things aren't going to get better. I'm like, well, things have been kind of shitty for a while.
Yeah.
What have you been doing?
Okay, I hear that. I mean, I thought it was an improvement to have somebody like Loretta Lynch. There were investigations that were taking place. There were cities that were coming to agreements. Ferguson and one more city that we recently talked about that, you know, that there was a meeting of the minds where the cities and the federal government were like, this is what we need to do to clean up what's going on, the problems with the police departments and excessive force. Let's monitor the situation, make sure that training is increased and whatever else that they recommended. But Jeff Sessions is sort of against these sort of arrangements, and so I don't expect to see them either. But let's move on.
Yeah, there's so much else to talk about.
And try to be more hopeful. I mean, are you hopeful, let's say, about Neil Gorsuch? Neil Gorsuch is Trump's nominee for the Supreme Court. I see your face drop. like, don't make me talk about somebody else that doesn't
Yeah,
have a lot
I
of promise,
should-
but that I need to
I
be.
don't see a lot of promise in the majority of his cabinet. I don't see a lot of promise in his pick for this justice. I am
If there is
just,
one thing worse than Jeff Sessions for Attorney General, it is another Scalia for the Supreme Court. I am serious when I said that this is a dark day in America.
You know what? I told myself today I needed to Google or wiki how old he was.
49.
Because I was like, he looks really young and very fit, which means we will see him for the next 40 to 50 plus people. This should anger you.
I mean, unreal. That, are they going to confirm him, especially when the Senate denied even holding hearings on Merrick Garland?
Yeah.
I mean, just the wave of consequences from the Senate not doing their job, just Mitch McConnell on his own deciding we're not going to provide any hearings, we're not going to vote on Merrick Garland, just going to decline to do what Article 2 of the Constitution says that I'm supposed to do right now. You just got, I don't feel like it.
I feel like you remember those Schoolhouse Rock? I mean, like, a lot of our audience may be too young to remember this, but do you remember those Schoolhouse Rocks episodes where they would kind of break down how the government works?
I missed that, but we need to bring that back.
I feel like we need to bring that back because I think people truly miss how this all works.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about this a little bit more when we talk about some of the other topics that we have on for today. But I'm like, if we had a better situated Congress, if we held our congressmen and women to the standards in which they've signed on these oaths to do, we would probably be living in a way better country. So my thought process is, let's discuss how we keep them more accountable. Because I call Patty Murray. Hello, if you're watching. I call her. I write her. I email her because I'm a concerned citizen and I voted for you to vote a certain type of way.
Sure. And I mean, I don't want us to get uber political because that's what my other show, the Trump Report on AfterBuzz, is on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. if you're interested in that.
Love the plug.
But, I mean, they're so intimately related that it's impossible to have a conversation about justice being served in America when we're having these kinds of appointments go down right now. This is sort of like the ultimate cop. This is the top. The top cop and the top court are at stake here. And I just, I was reminded this weekend in this conference in hearing talks about all sorts of different issues that are up for debate right now, just how far-reaching the consequences are of such a conservative cabinet and conservative court. And I almost don't want to use the word conservative. I want to use the more just...
I do agree that conservative isn't the word.
The Constitution. Yeah. More
That's
like
different.
moneyed interest, like it's, Yeah,
I feel like the majority of these individuals are money driven and not people driven.
Yes.
And we need people.
Yeah. I mean, even, you'll find law professors on all sorts, on all sides of the aisle, and 30 some odd of them sent a letter to the Senate saying why Sessions is not qualified. Now, the issue with Neil Gorsuch is not that he's not qualified.
No.
He really is painfully qualified, but the problem is this whole thing about the Senate not hearing out Merrick Garland and even giving him a shot. I mean, I guess they could have heard him out and then voted no anyway.
That was my thought. I just thought it was an extreme abuse of power.
So it will be really interesting to see how Democrats respond to at the hearings for Neil Gorsuch. In all likelihood, he will be confirmed. I'm going to have a hard time.
I would like for him not to be. So for those of you that live in states that have Republican congressmen and women that are kind of on the fence, I suggest, I'm going to figure out a list. Follow me on Twitter and I will get you this list in the next 2 weeks. Let's start bombarding them to make sure that they do not vote for him, just on merit.
All right. Well, let's see how that goes.
Let's see how this goes.
Okay.
Woman of action.
And I love it. I love it. All right. Well, now let's move on to a different kind of lawsuit, but still somewhat politically connected. Melania Trump is suing for defamation.
Yes.
The Daily News, was it? Wrote an article that, in short, called her a prostitute.
Not quite.
Okay.
But,
what did it call it? Call her.
They said that she had an interesting, history before the Trump.
Yeah. High-end escort.
High-end escort is not as bad as someone calling you a prostitute.
Okay.
I just want to put that out there.
All right. I'm with you. And so this is not really all that new. This, in fact, is a retry of a case that she filed in, was it Maryland? But it got tossed there because it had no connection to the state of Maryland. So this one was filed in New York. A similar suit was settled, but we don't know the terms of it. But she says that she got a significant sum, but I don't really believe that.
I don't either.
The real...
And isn't the issue not the money, but a public apology?
Yeah, which she also got. Yeah. So the thing about this defamation suit, and we know if you've listened to the show before how difficult it is to prove a defamation claim, especially when you're a public figure. But so the chances normally of it being successful for her, not high. In this case, thinking she might prevail.
I don't know. They only need one whistleblower. They just need one young whippersnapper to come up and say that they have receipts that they paid her.
Wow.
Can
you imagine if that went down?
Like...
All right. Well, that could happen.
I've seen crazier things happen.
Well, and a little more interesting than the defamation. Do you think that this rises to, because this is something else you filed, a claim for intentional infliction of emotional distress?
I thought she was reaching. Extremely reaching. For to be a public figure and to have people write heinously nasty things about you on a regular basis, I just did not see where she felt like she had a case. And I blame her lawyer.
For this intentional infliction of emotional distress, it is a seriously high bar. Yeah. Extreme, reckless, like unbelievable. Like it really has to shock you. For somebody to be called an escort...
I mean, you have to understand that someone calling you an escort is very loose, honestly. First of all, what definition are they going to use?
Yeah.
Because Urban Dictionary will lead you to believe it's accepting a purse after a date.
Oh.
So I would like to hear, so that was my question in this, like, how are we defining the term escort?
Oh, interesting.
Because she technically could have been Trump's escort.
Oh.
I mean, let's...
hey.
Call me if you need a second chair. I have some theories on how to argue this case.
And the most interesting thing, the thing that got the most press about this case, was about the claim in the suit that she is losing a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to capitalize off of being the First Lady.
Yeah, which I'm like, are you... What?
And the attorneys cleverly disguised it because they didn't say it in those terms. This is what they said. This is a quote. Plaintiff had the unique once-in-a-lifetime opportunity as an extremely famous and well-known person, as well as a former professional model and brand spokesperson and successful business woman, to launch a broad-based commercial brand in multiple categories, each of which could have garnered multi-million-dollar business relationships. Here it is. This is what it is. For a multi-year term during which plaintiff is one of the most photographed women in the world. This multi-year term is also known as the 4 years that her husband has been elected president for. So
I'm just saying.
So, I mean, that's great creative writing on the attorney's part. I will be impressed by that. But it is a not-so-subtle way of saying she lost out on opportunities to capitalize on being First Lady, and she wants to sell...
Because a lot of brands don't want to work with her. But I think that has nothing, honestly, and I would love, again, opposing counsel, call me. Again, I would just like to iterate, if they were to even have just one designer testify that the reason why they don't want to work with her has nothing to do with the fact that she may or may not have been an escort, that entire argument falls to the wayside. Ricardo, why can't I think of his last name? Tom Ford's designer has come out and said it has nothing to do with the fact that anything more so about her, but it's about her husband as to why designers don't want to design for her.
Right.
So I just feel like this entire case is bull crap, and I hate frivolous lawsuits. Like, they really piss me off.
Yeah.
And this is one of them.
I mean, this is
personally.
amazing
Yeah.
that what she wanted to do was have an apparel line, accessories, shoes, jewelry, cosmetics, hair care, skin care, and
I didn't hear
fragrance.
anything about what her platform was while she's first lady.
Well, now we know what her platform is.
To sell.
Yeah. And so the defense would be for the Daily Mail
can we just
to
take
say,
a moment. Like, that is...
you want to take a moment on this story and not Sessions and Gorsuch?
a moment of silence. I'm like, this is your first lady. Your first lady is more concerned about selling apparel than she is furthering a public cause.
Yeah, right. And her public cause, if she did name one, was bullying.
Because she's being bullied about her previous escort days.
It is one of those classic things when you say we need to deal with a problem, and that you are like the leader of that problem. So it's like, her husband is bully in chief, and she's like, we need to deal with the bullying problem.
It's like I try all the time to be very, diplomatic and, understand everybody's point of view. But on this one, I just can't see it.
So $150 million at least is what she wants, claiming that she's lost those opportunities. First of all, why are those opportunities lost? She's still got nearly an entire 4 years to capitalize.
I think she's asking for damages that can't be calculated.
Yeah.
And I would love to see who the judge is on this.
And the other defense is the fact that her husband's popularity is so low that is what harms her ability to get these deals, not that anybody called her a hooker, basically.
I like the word escort
Okay.
better. There's
All right.
a way more professional tone
I'll
to
stick
it.
to that one then. Okay. So, I mean, I definitely... Well, here's a perfect example. Nordstrom just dropped Ivanka Trump.
Yes.
So...
Nothing to do with Ivanka, because she's amazing.
Nobody called Ivanka an escort,
Nope.
and Nordstrom still dropped her.
Another great point for the defense.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They need us clearly on the...
They know where to find us.
I know.
All right. And in other legal political news, the Trump ban is sort of on trial right now. And we sort of have to break this down because it's kind of complicated.
It's extremely complicated. And I was driving in, I was actually listening to the hearing. And I was like, I don't even know where to begin to talk to our listeners about this.
All right. So let me try. So we have the ban that was issued as an executive order. There are some people that think, well, if a president issued an executive order, that's really not up for review.
Not necessarily.
But that is exactly not necessarily, especially when within that executive order there is a discriminating order.
Yes.
This country takes discrimination seriously.
I mean, and that's just
Or
not
used
even
to,
a
at
thing
least.
that you learned in first year law school. I think you learned that in kindergarten.
Right. So as to whether the courts are right to review this executive order, I think it's clear, yes, because of the discriminatory nature of it. And I believe that there are laws that are still active and in place that forbid discrimination based on national origin and religion. And although
It's called the Constitution.
yeah, and there's other explicit laws
Right,
outside
but
of that.
I'm saying, like, if the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, I don't understand how you can have
Well, there's a lot of people that think
order.
that the rights and freedoms and all the protections provided in the Constitution only apply to American citizens. And so that's going to be an interesting thing to see, because that's going to come up over and over. Because these people who have been banned are not citizens. Okay, so there's that issue. So there have been a number of lawsuits filed, and a judge in Washington filed a temporary restraining order.
We get it up there.
Yeah.
I just want to say that.
There's been a couple of other states too, but that's the one that the judge first said, I'm issuing a temporary restraining order.
First to file.
Okay, so that means that there's going to be irreparable harm unless it's stopped. And so there's a couple of requirements needed for a temporary restraining order. Okay, so the judge issued it. So what the hearings are on right now, that the Ninth Circuit, which is our circuit here in California and other Western states, also known as the most liberal of the circuits in the country.
That's why I
We
live
say
there.
that proudly.
We are very proud about that.
Yeah, not everybody else in the whole country is so
No.
enthused.
I
Anyways,
think they hate us.
they might. So anyways, so what the three-panel circuit judges are listening to by phone, by the way, because they're all in different states.
Yeah, and because they needed to. So, because I did a little research on this, why they did it by phone for this particular reason, it was because they needed to hear it ASAP,
right.
and they couldn't get everybody there in chambers.
Yeah. So they listened. So yesterday it was like an hour's worth of questioning
hour
for both
and 9 minutes.
sides. Thank you for that precision.
I
And
listened
so
to the whole
the
thing.
issue is about the temporary restraining order.
Yes.
So these 3 judges are not going to make a ruling on the ban itself, and we know for sure that it's not coming out today because they said that. But they also said that they plan on making a decision today.
Yes.
Whatever.
Which I was still surprised that it's not out yet.
Yeah, this week is when it'll be out. So whatever they say is going to go to the Supreme Court.
Yes, for sure.
And therein lies the big
issue
unknown
at hand.
Yeah,
it's a really big circle that I don't know if everyone is truly understanding the
which
different
is why
pieces.
I love this show, because this is where we get to put the pieces of the puzzle together.
Okay, guys. So let's say, for example, that this goes to the Supreme Court, and it's going to take a second before we get there. FYI, this isn't going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
Once it gets there and Trump's new appointee is on the bench, I can tell you now that this ban is going to stand. Mm-hmm. I need you guys to swallow that. Mm-hmm. Swallow it one more time. That's the circle of our beautiful system.
Beautifully broken at the moment. So that's very likely the case. Mm-hmm.
So if you had any objections, as we were trying to say on our first topic about Neil being confirmed, this would be the time to object.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or hold your peace for forever, for the rest of your life.
Right, which is why, even though I appreciate the optimistic attitude of a lot of people, including yourself,
optimistic.
I'm like, let's just be real. This freaking sucks. This is going to be
I think the frustrating part is, like, we come from a very liberal region. We get the issue. It's like, how do we now educate and empower some of our counterparts in the middle to persuade them to push this issue to their representatives?
Yeah. Well,
because that's the only hope at this point.
Well, I mean, but I think it's in the hands of the courts by now. I don't think.
I disagree.
Oh, so you think that Congress could roll
saying
it back.
in this big purple circle that we have going on today.
I see.
I'm just saying that if the main issue now is going to be, we know that this 9 times out of 10 is going to the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. We know that when it gets to the Supreme Court is now going to be balanced on one side over the other instead of being a very balanced court.
Well, it will. If we replace Scalia, we still have a swing vote. Anthony Kennedy is the. Look at that face. He's the swing vote. Ironically, Neil Gorsuch clerked for Kennedy at one point. You're looking at me like I'd be crazy. Okay, so I mean, it just basically we would go back to what we had, even though it's wrong because the Senate should have at least taken up hearings for Merrick Garland. But anyways, we've already beat that point.
I would like to block his pick for the next 4 years.
I mean, this is part of me agrees with that wholeheartedly. But then it's like, we're just going to go as low as they did. I mean, they have messed.
I'm trying to go high.
I know.
I was trying to go high.
Michelle would be proud.
I'm trying so hard to go high.
Michelle would be really proud.
Give me more reason to continue to stay high.
I don't.
That's the key.
I don't know any other way than almost to respond in kind. But I know it's like an eye for an eye and the world goes blind.
And that's the thing, you guys. I'm not necessarily saying that it's. I personally don't think it's taking the low road to block this particular pick. It's just that we're asking our Congress people to not follow the Constitution in doing that. And it feels like, well, they did it, so we can do it. But then no, that's not
feel
even
like I'm
the
in
point.
fourth
Is
grade.
that they did it, so we do it. Is that
we were going to have to hope that cheaters don't prosper.
It's not even that, you guys. It's to the public. Here's my point. I fell in love and originally wanted to be a lawyer because I loved that our legal system was always evolving to create a better United States.
Yeah.
And it pains me to look at where we are right now and feel like we're going backwards. And that makes me legit like sit here and I like feel like I'm going to start crying.
The arc of American history has always bent towards justice.
And so
Until
my point is that replacing Scalia with Neil, I feel like keeps us where we were and where we have been and doesn't take us to the next level as a country. That's me
fair.
Personally. And I don't
That's
know
fair.
if maybe America doesn't agree with me and I'm a lone soldier and maybe I really should just get off my soapbox. But that's how I personally feel about this situation. I don't see us progressing. I see us taking serious step backs and that frightens me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think the election of Trump was a serious step back. But again, let's try and keep it to the law. Okay.
Hopeful.
All right. Let's change the subject.
You are just trying to just pull me of all my hope today. These stories are just...
Well, I mean, let's gloss over the other story that we're going to cover about one more state, the state of Louisiana, being sued because they're not providing enough lawyers for people that can't afford lawyers. I mean, people sitting in jail for months at a time can't get a hold of
They actually don't have any more. So my appeal to you is that if you are in private practice and in the state of Louisiana, consider doing some pro bono.
Oh, also, there's similar lawsuits in Florida, Michigan, Missouri, Utah, Idaho, New York, and other states. So in those states also.
Right. But my point to that is that can you really be upset at the state for not having enough attorneys to provide?
Well, it's an issue of priorities.
Oh, for sure, and it's a matter of funding as well.
Priorities are reflected in a budget.
Right. But my thing is like, okay, let's appeal to the human nature as well. And if maybe you open up a sector to where you do something, something quid pro quo for those that, decide to do it pro bono. I don't know, but
yeah, and if states can't afford it, should the federal government step in and provide money? Yeah, because it's
once
in
again,
the
it's a constitutional right.
But you think Jeff Sessions is going to be
Hell
offering
no.
up money for that? Right.
Well, and then that's when I get back to I feel like we are so far behind.
Yeah, it's really sad. Okay, I mean, this one's also kind of sad too.
Give me something hopeful.
I was going to tell you this Beyonce story is hopeful, but I don't know. This one doesn't look so good for her.
Interestingly enough, if you guys follow me on social media, you know that I like to do like days where I talk about like Hollywood news stories. And so Beyonce was actually sued for formation about 6 months ago. With a similar story claiming that she had took pieces from someone else's visual piece. But the issue in that was that they were extremely different, and that the elements that they were trying to claim were of copyright infringement were very, very generic. So when I read this case, I was like, is this a repeat of the same case I'd already read? But I was like, oh, no, it's a whole new person. I didn't read the entire story because we had a lot to cover today. But the piece that I did read, there's a part in one of her songs that's like a dub over. It's the person who does it is actually a famous New Orleans bounce music woman who has performed on stage in Louisiana with Beyonce during the Formation tour. And so I thought it was interesting that this person is trying to claim that it's a piece from theirs, because it's not factually correct. So I just was like really, really confused as to why they added that portion of it to the claim.
I don't know.
I thought that there was some other basis to it, though.
Yeah, I saw something similar. She took a sample.
Big Frida, that's her name. Sorry.
Well, this was being sued by somebody who's passed away.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Anthony Bari Messi Maya. So Anthony Bari was I guess real name. Messi Maya was the public YouTube name. This person has now passed, and the estate is suing. I mean, I don't think it's disputed that Beyonce used a piece of this artist's work. It's just whether that person was compensated or not.
But what I'm saying is that the person's work that they're referring to isn't the work that's in her video, is what I'm saying. Is that was my only point, was that the person's voiceover that she used is a rapper in Nolia that does bounce music.
Oh,
and so I think what they should have done is the Big Frida portion that they were talking about is a piece of Big Frida's show performance that she does at her shows. And so my thing is, if she's taken something from this person that's passed, the lawsuit should be on Big Frida.
Well, this is
does that make sense?
Yeah, it is different from what my understanding was. This was like a voice sampling.
Yeah.
in the music itself, not the video.
No, it's the voice. The actual voice is Big Frida.
Well, I don't know. My reading of it was different of it. It seemed, at least what I had seen, that it was pretty well acknowledged. Like it was pretty, you could just hear it, that this was somebody else's like voice. It was straight lifted.
So what I was saying was that there's two different portions of their claim. And so I'm saying one of the portions isn't actually this messy Maya character, in that the second one may have been her. I'm just saying that one of the ones that they're referring to isn't her.
Okay, so then
wanted to clarify
so
that.
So maybe Beyonce wins half and loses the other half.
Yeah, that's my thought.
All right, and
Split
it's really sad that that's the happiest story that we have to bring our audience today.
I know.
Because we are out of time, and I really hope that sometime soon that there's a really great story of justice being served in America.
Well, I mean, the IRS is currently trying to get $1 billion for Michael Jackson's estate, so silver lining. Lining.
Maybe we should talk about that. I considered covering that one, but that one,
it's really interesting.
You think? I thought it was like, we're going to put our audience
into
to
that, so to me, it was,
All right. Well, maybe we'll give you a chance to cover and break that down. Because I love me some Michael. It's a little, but some of the issue. This is a tax trial, and some of the issues being brought up are like, what was the harm to him because of these molestation charges, and it gets very messy.
It gets very murky.
Ay. Okay. So I think that's it for me. How about you?
I wish I had a brighter note to leave you on.
That's exactly what I was thinking. But
I was trying to. I'm racking my brain right now to think of something positive to leave you, because I feel like these cases that we covered today were really heavy. But know that there's always a silver lining. That
even if we don't know what it is,
even if we don't know what it is yet, but and don't feel voiceless. There are a lot of things that you can do as a private citizen, and it's time that we all maybe take a little more point in that.
I mean, that is the only silver lining that I have seen, is that
That's
people are waking up. People are waking up. People are paying attention. And bad actors are less likely to misbehave when they know that they're being watched, right? So stay awake, people. Stay awake, people. Justice is now basically in our hands.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, wait, I'm not suggesting that we all take really the law into our own hands, but I think you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. All right. So we will be back next week. In the meantime, like, comment, let us know your thoughts. iTunes. Look at me combining iTunes and YouTube. You can reach out to me directly at Chelsea Galicia and at.
Oh yeah, you guys can reach out to me at Domonique P_ESQ.
Okay, and I feel like I got to say something like, look out for each other.
Yes.
Really bummer.
We're in this together.
Yeah, there you go. I like that.
From executives Keven Undergaro, Dario Crispin, Tiana Hobson, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us. info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I am the official voice of Black Hollywood Live, Scipio, Instagram me at KingXOBay. Thanks for tuning in.
Hollywood Redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.